you can hear yourself pretty good there.
I can. Okay, wait. Let me have to. Let me raise them a little bit.
I always feel like I want to bust out the song when I put these on.
Me too. Like, I feel like Beyonce.
Yeah, 100%.
I really like the ones you have over at AfterBuzz.
Uh-huh.
The head didn't it have the headphones with the mic already attached?
Oh, yeah.
That's just for guests, or
That's for guests.
because you have the actual microphone, or no?
We have the ones that sit on the table for us with the headphones. And then for guests, we have the Britney mic, as I call it.
Oh,
That's dope.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the same setup. You just got to get that and then.
Yeah, because you can do I think if we ever have more people and it ends up being like on the couch or something, we can have like an extra guest if we do more than 4.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to be more rare. But it'd be nice to actually like have one just in case.
Yeah. I would think so. And that's why they do it over there, I'm sure, so people can be on the couch and, not at the table.
How long ago were we at AfterBuzz? Because we did your show. What? Like.
I don't remember what was going on then. I want to say it was more like May. It was May.
It was May?
This past May?
I think it was May. The last time that we both came on.
Yes. Yeah. What was happening? I don't know.
I think this has to be the fastest year ever.
Yes.
I agree.
But I don't know why. Why do you think it's going so fast?
Because we getting older.
That too. But you know what? I think it's like this for every year, if you really think about it. Because, like, when January came, it's like, oh, my God, 2019, that's going to be some time. And then next thing you know, you blink and it's June. And you're like, oh, we're okay. And then now you're blinking, it's October. And you're like, wait. Like, what has happened to this year? So I think it's just like, I don't know. It's just a normal cycle.
They always make this joke that January feels like the longest period of time every year. Mm-hmm. And then February, March, April come, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it was so fast. Mm-hmm. And then
because I think it's like the holidays and like getting back into the swing of things, and then you're trying to prep yourself up for the new year and what you want to do and goals and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And by January 15th, like all of that just went out the window.
Oh yeah.
Like it's suddenly like, ugh, I can't wait until 2020.
Yeah, that's why I hate resolutions. I like kind of having a 90-day of momentum going into the new year, because with resolutions, most people say, oh, I'm going to lose weight. And then like real life creeps back in. They have no momentum and they're just like, forget it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't make them. I like to run into the new year with a little
I'm more motivated after summer. Like September is always a good month for me because I feel like summer, I was barbecuing, I was traveling, I was hanging out, and then you kind of feel like the year's almost over. I better get my shit together. Yeah. And I've always had like good Septembers. Like I felt like September was amazing.
Yeah.
We moved. I've lost some weight. Like
we did that last year too.
And then the holidays come, and then you're like, well, it's Christmas. Well, it's New Year. Well, it's Valentine's. So we're gonna eat and do, Yeah. But what are you gonna do for the holidays? Where are you from originally again?
South Carolina.
Okay. Do you go back every year?
Every now and then. Well, when I was hosting the soap events, that event will always take me back home for at least once a year. So I would make it a trip. So I would go there the week before and then be with my mom and family for the week, and then that weekend host the event. Well, now they don't do that anymore. But I try to get back as often as I can.
What was the soap event?
Which one? It's a DCE, Days Charity Events. No, dual. Well, it was Days Charity Events. Then it changed to Dual Coast Events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you never did? Did you do one with Stacy?
The one that we did, Stacy helped Sean Christian put together when we did Addicts Anonymous in 2013 or 14. Whenever we went to Tennessee.
Oh yes.
That was the time that they were working together. So Sean and Stacy kind of put that together.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever done another one independently. I've worked with Paul and Keith a few times, and then all the NBC sponsored events like the Day of Days and that kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe a brunch every now and then. But it's the traveling that gets me. I would do so many more events if I could teleport, but to drive to LAX, take the 5-hour flight, just like the whole thing for me is what I take into consideration. Yeah. Not if the event was here all the time, I'd do it every weekend. I wouldn't mind.
It is a lot because, and especially on y'all, because 9 times out of 10 you don't know what your schedule is going to be like shooting wise. So then you have to catch like a 5 p.m., 6 p.m. flight if you're not, if you're working that day.
Yeah.
Or an overnight flight. And then as soon as you get there, it's like event. And so you don't have time to like rest and chill and like kind of get your mindset. All of a sudden you have all these people in your face. Like, can I get a photo? Can I get, oh, I love your character. And that happens for the next 48 hours. And then you blink and you're back on a plane and probably have to be back on set that Monday.
That's the only tough, you're right. It's the, if it lines up, and it never has lined up in my favor, even if I had a noon call time on Monday, I'd be able to come home, sleep, get up, and go. When you have to be up at 7 a.m., you're just stressed on the plane. And I'm the type of person, too, that when I'm doing a fan event, I put on a show.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be my absolute best. So it's like, imagine doing, like a 3-hour play 4 times a day for 2 days. Like, I want to be my best because people are paying money, they're taking time. So I always give it my all. Yeah. And then, when you get back after flying and then you get up for work, I'm always like, whoa.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I mean, luckily I had that Monday to kind of chill and the day before. But I missed hosting them, though. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you just hosted the DC one that we were all at.
Yeah.
Which was so much fun.
Yeah, and it had been a while since I had hosted one. That was like my first one in a while. And that one was really good. I wish there were more people there because I think it was a really good event.
Yeah.
It was.
Although I thought originally it was going to be during DC Pride. And then I realized it was at the end of May, so we missed it. So
the DC Pride? Wasn't that, it was in June, no?
No, it was the last weekend in May.
Was DC Pride. Oh, so our event, okay. That, okay.
And then that event was the last weekend in June, I think.
Yeah.
But that was still Pride Month, nationally.
It was still Pride Month, yes. But, like, I think the bigger momentum could have been if it was done during Pride because there's more people there. There's people, like, traveling in from everywhere and stuff like that. And, that could have been a great addition to the Pride festivities.
What do you think of DC?
It was hot.
Yeah. Have you been there before?
Many, many, many years ago, like maybe over 10 years ago. But it was really quick. Before I moved here, I started choreographing runway shows.
Stop.
My life is stupid.
I love it.
I can't wait to learn more about you. I'm so curious about your journeys and
what did that entail?
I feel you have your hands in a lot of different things.
This is a lot. No, my sister's beautician wanted to do hair shows, and she needed someone to like choreograph the runway presentation. And so we did like an event locally in Columbia, South Carolina, and then we got to like the bigger event, And so I like came up with the concept. I taught the girls how to walk and like how to do like there was this one set where a girl would walk down and then another girl would come out, but this girl would walk backwards to like meet up with this girl, and then they would turn and then this girl would walk. Like it was.
Oh, so legit she was walking backwards.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In heels.
In heels. Yeah. I mean, I was like, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But the oddest thing was like having these group of girls and having to teach them how to walk the runway.
Yeah.
I was surprised that not many knew how to, and that like I mean not to toot my own horn, but like I could walk the runway better than most of them, including my sister, who was a part of that group.
Oh my gosh!
Is it all like manifesting the attitude, or is it a physical thing?
It's the attitude, is the confidence. It is just like walking in a certain way so that your hips have a natural sway to it. So that you don't look like Bambi in heels. You know what I mean? Like, you don't look like you're kind of weeble wobble, but you don't fall down.
So it's boom, boom,
yeah,
boom,
yeah.
Boom,
and it's
boom.
this confident stride that you have to have. I call it the Beyonce gallop, but,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Didn't you do runway for like 5 seconds?
I did at 17. I went to an acting modeling competition, and I entered in both. And... like I did like a fashion runway, and then like I forget what the other title was.
I've seen the photos.
Yeah, I went down. I think I was in dress pants and dress shoes, shirtless was my high fashion.
You're missing the shirt part though.
Yeah, so I don't think I did well in that, but It was, but at that point though, I got more into acting, and I think the modeling thing I just wasn't really sure about. But it is cool. I remember training and like, I haven't strutted in 12, 15 years or something like that.
We gotta see it.
I strut every day.
I need a walk-off, guys.
I strut every day. Some people, when they see me out in West Hollywood, they're like, you are like strutting down the street. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have Beyonce's Crazy in Love playing in my head. So like, when I hear the trumpets, I just like
I saw you did a story and you're like, this is my theme song of the day. And it was Beyonce, but it was like her concert, Crazy in Love opening. I was laughing my freaking booty off. I was like, he's so fierce. Like, I need this in my daily life because it was just the most magical song and just vision.
I feel like you always have like a soundtrack to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And Beyonce is mine. Like, I always feel like every album there's a few songs that like I relate to during that time of my life. So
sure.
she's like that girlfriend in my head, along with Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
But that gives you though the confidence. Like music, when going on to like a stage or being out or hearing that music, there's times I'm driving in the car and a new song drops. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my God. Like you feel like you can accomplish everything.
Yes.
There's something so powerful about music, and you get a lot of attention. Like walk around with your confidence and presence, people pay attention, and that's valuable.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like music for me has always explained how I felt, like emotionally, whether I'm happy or in a great mood or whether I'm really sad. I always use music to kind of like get those emotions out. Oh my God, I sound like such a interesting kid.
No, I
think we all feel that way. Yeah.
It's the greatest tool. Like if I'm sad and I need to like be in my feelings, get it out, I just blast that kind of music, whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
If I need to be inspired or motivated to go to the gym, I'm like, okay, let's put this on.
Yeah.
And I seriously like often will put on music right when I get up, just blast it to just kind of set the tone for my day.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing Beyonce, you're like, okay, I'm going to crush today.
I'm like, listen, it's a Beyonce kind of day. Let's hit it. But there have been like, I remember growing up, they used to have the cassette singles that you could get. So I had like a few of those, and sometimes I would just lay in my room and just like listen to certain songs, and sometimes I would cry because it was a very bad day or something. Or sometimes I would be dancing in my room, which my mom would be like, there's a lot of stomping going on up there. But yeah, I always use music to kind of get out whatever emotion that I have. Yeah.
I did the same when I was young. I used to love going to the CD stores, and you know how you could listen to them?
Yeah. Oh.
Sam Goody.
Sam Goody. And you're like, ooh, which soundtrack am I going to listen to first?
And wait, did they play the whole song? No. Sometimes it was just snippets. And then you could like listen literally to a whole album before you bought it. Like, those are the days that I miss. I literally feel like my parents. Like, when people are talking about streaming and downloading and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, I need the CD. Like, I like buying the CD, taking the booklet out and looking at the pictures, and like sometimes reading like the thank yous, or like, or their little cliff notes, or they sometimes had the lyrics of the song in there, so you could actually learn the lyric and not have to go to lyrics.com to figure out the lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, I miss those days.
I agree.
People don't listen to full albums anymore. People put out a single and like that's their hit, or they put out an EP, and albums used to tell like a story. I feel like, and I feel like they don't do that anymore.
But that's because our attention now is so small. Like I would literally go buy a CD, do exactly what you do. I'd play it, and I'd sit on my bed for however long, like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Go flip through, read the thank yous, look at the lyrics, and like really consume just that because there was nothing else.
But I think we were trying to fill our time back then.
Yeah.
I think nowadays there's just we can't get to all the things in a day that is at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And don't you feel like back in the day, like even when I was out here at the beginning as an actor, like me and Mio used to like go get a new movie that's out, and we would go shopping at the grocery store. We'd either get like ice cream or some fruit, or it would be an experience because that's what we're going to do with the night.
Yes.
Where now I almost am like, that's like a special occasion, because in those 4 hours that's going to take us to get dressed, go out there, do all this stuff, we can watch the movie, order Postmates, and still have 3 hours to go and do something else. Like everything's at our fingertips now. Yeah. So I think we're just we're not spending the 3-4 hours on experiences anymore. We're more now cutting them down to like just quick moment. Like, what's the lyrics? What's all the stuff? Like, we can get it on Insta real fast, and that's how we're kind of evolving. Yeah. Which I don't know if we're ever going to go back, though. I think people have to make an effort to stop and smell the roses and enjoy something. Mm-hmm. And I think it might be even more impactful because we're so used to do.
Yeah. We want everything now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when you're driving down and you see, you know, this billboard promoting this, we go, you know, because we can't wait. We have to know now, like, what that is. We have to see the trailer for this. We have to, you know that it's available on Netflix, and we can binge, you know, we can take a Saturday and binge the entire episodes. Yeah. There's not that thing that we're used to when we grew up of watching an episode and going, oh, I can't wait till next week. You know, now it's like, click, and you can see the next episode, you know? Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know, that I haven't hopped on the whole streaming binge watching thing yet.
Really?
I feel so old.
No, I mean,
but like, I don't know. I still have cable.
We do too.
Like I like flipping through. I like my DVR. I like recording my shows. Yeah. But when people are like, "Oh, have you seen this on Netflix?" I'm like, "No," because I just haven't gotten there yet. The last thing I saw on Netflix was Homecoming by Beyonce. Of course. Like, that's it.
I don't think I saw that one.
Don't you guys think it's kind of crazy, though, that we're the first and last generation that lived with both worlds? Mm-hmm. Like, the only one.
Yeah.
We grew up without internet and we're, you know, everything that we have, and then we slowly...
But yet young enough that we dove in.
Yeah.
Like, it took, like, even my parents, like, they fought me on a laptop and iPhone. Like, they finally got with the program in, like, 2016. And now my mom sends me pictures and, like, utilizes it like crazy, but, like, fought it.
Yeah,
for years. Yeah. And now my dad we text, and it also, I end up talking with my dad more because of text message. Because before I usually would call my mom and my dad, because they're both retired, so they're usually together. And so when I call my mom, I can talk to both of them.
Yeah.
But I talk to my dad more because of text, where we wouldn't just like call just randomly, but we text randomly. So that's kind of cool. But it took the older generation a little longer to catch up. Yeah. But now I think everyone's on.
Oh, yeah. It blows my mind, though, because I'll never forget my dad teaching me how to use our first computer, teaching me emails and, like, AOL chats I discovered. And then I took that knowledge and continued, you know, learning, and HTML. Remember, even on MySpace, you code and do all the colors, like, just silly stuff.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, him teaching me and then me taking that knowledge and the stuff I've learned, even everything we do with podcasting, like... Just unreal what you can do.
I mean, I remember getting like the little AOL CDs and like, you know, you having to download it and get your screen name and make sure no one's on the house phone because you're about to go online. And then like going in the chat rooms and email and, you know, going on the internet for the first time. Like, and now to think about how it all evolved is like, ooh, I remember when like this was just coming out and this was just the thing. And like, you know, like my niece who's 14 doesn't know time before that. It's weird.
It's crazy. What was your screen name?
I still have it.
What was it?
It was Celie D345.
Celie D? Uh-huh. Like Celine Dion?
Yes! I was a huge Celine Dion fan in middle school. Cool. The first album that I got of hers was Falling Into You.
Okay.
It's like her in like white and like the blue jeans.
What was her big song from that album?
It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You know that one?
I'd probably if I heard it, right?
I'm not going to sing it. I felt like it was like cue song. No. You can look that up on iTunes. But yeah, and then, I don't know, it just, I was like, Celie D. And then my birthday is January 3rd. So I started with 3 and I just went 4 or 5.
Cute.
Yeah. Simple. Some people are like, Celed. I'm like, Celine.
Celine.
And they're like, what does that mean? Celine Dion.
Clearly. Right? Anyone would know.
Duh.
With your hands in many different things, mm-hmm. what is your not to change the subject, but what is your typical day? Like what are your weeks? Like are you kind of like rogue where they're all different? Do you have kind of routine? Like what's your typical day in this Los Angeles town?
Oof. Sometimes it depends. I usually wake up and organize my day, so that I know what needs to get done and things that I need to do, what projects I need to work on. So it starts with that. And then depending on the day, depends on what I do. I host and promote in West Hollywood. So if it's one of those nights and I have to prepare for that, make sure, the dancers are know what time they're coming in, or make sure I go pick up the video games for that day, or make sure the cook knows that, we're on and popping or whatever. So that depends. And then I like to make sure I take time to work on something with so many projects that I have developing, that I do something to take care of that. And any other like typical things that I need to do. So it usually just starts with organizing. So I have to write everything down.
And what kind of projects are you working on?
Right now, I am revamping my web show, Lounging with Tony.
Okay.
I haven't done that in quite a long time, so I was like, I should bring that back. I'm working on a short film.
Cool.
I've had this idea for a short film for a couple of years now, and I was just like, I need to do it. So I want to get that done. And then I'm working on a new podcast. Yeah.
Nice.
It's going to be called More Please.
More
Oh my
please.
God. That's
Yes.
awesome.
And and I'm still developing the concept, but it's basically kind of adding like hot topics, and then also just having friends of mine come together and just talk about different topics and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I'm working on that as well.
More please.
Yeah.
That's a great
Super
title.
clever.
Yeah. And then one day it dawned on me as I was like, I do my best thinking in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's real.
I think because you're relaxed and you're just like in your thoughts, and suddenly all these great ideas come up. I feel like I should have like one of those dry erase boards or something in there so I don't forget stuff. But I say it 3 times and then I go out and like write it down. So, because that'll be weird if there's notes in the shower.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be a good idea to kind of cross-promote both, because originally More Please was going to be like a late-night talk show to replace Lounging with Tony. And I was like, well, why would I want to replace something that I've already worked really hard on? And I was like, well, I don't have a podcast because I already have something audio and visual. So I need something maybe just audio.
Right.
And especially with podcasts being so popular now, I need to kind of break into that. And then it helps cross-promote both of them. So it's like you have Lounging with Tony, which is like the celebrity-based interview stuff. And then if you want more, you go over to More Please. And then that's just like a general discussion. So I can now cross-promote both.
Now, will you do both of those at all at AfterBuzz Studios, or you do that at your your own place?
Yeah, this would be totally separate. So
Okay.
I'll work with my videographer and editor, Evan. Shout out to Evan if you're watching, who was great. I actually met Evan on Craigslist.
Amazing.
Yeah. I still remember meeting him at the Coffee Bean in North Hollywood. I still remember his demo reel. And he has been like the biggest supporter of me and the show. He actually took the show and elevated it to like a whole different level production wise. Like one day he showed up and he had 3 cameras and a sliding thing, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that's a lot, but thank you. Like, it looked great,
Yeah.
But he was like, I believe in you and I believe in this project, so I'm going to do what I can to help you. And I'm like, thank you. And so he's always like my go-to guy. And then there's a studio in Burbank that I'm going to record More Please at.
Great.
Yeah. So, yeah. AfterBuzz is more of like the ESPN of talk. TV talk, as they branded themselves. So a lot of the ideas that I have won't work at the studio. So I'm just like, this is great to kind of just have my own stuff to do. Yeah.
And I like that it's More Please, because you're going to be able to, because our first 8 episodes we called this Personal Growth Nation, because we wanted to just all talk about positivity, which I feel like we end up looping in positivity in general in our podcast.
Yeah.
But then it pigeonholed us to not be able to talk about everything.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about More Please, is it's kind of like you can talk about anything. And if
Yeah.
you're going to do them often, you want to be able to talk about whatever's a hot topic or an interview. And I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Congrats.
And that's going to be
Thank
just
you.
audio, you're saying?
Just audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
That'll
so-
be easier to cut together and upload, and
Yeah.
that'll be...
Well, the great thing is that the studio that I'm working at is recorded like live, and then they upload it to all the podcast formats, which I'll learn kind of how to do, but sometimes it's great to have someone else do something.
100%.
Because sometimes as a creative type, you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and you kind of fill your plate with a lot of stuff to where you don't have time to like really monitor things. So this go around, I'm just making sure that, all right, with Lounging with Tony, we have this, that, and how to promote that and make sure we get this, and then more pleases happen. Because everything is kind of going to happen simultaneously because I like to keep myself busy.
See, now I know where your username came from.
What?
On Instagram, at Lounging with Tony.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, hey, maybe he's just like hanging out.
But also, it's...
I love the name.
It's. I wanted something that was very casual, and I never wanted the show to feel like, oh, this is like Oprah, Barbara Walters. I'm trying to get into your deep thoughts and, and pull out all your secrets and all that. It's more just like being able to relate to someone. And so whoever watches the show feels like, oh, I can relate to this celebrity or this person, this influential person, because they seem just like a regular person. And I feel like now that's what people like. They like to feel like they relate to you. That's why everyone follows their favorite celebrity on social media, because we get those candid moments, and you feel like, oh, like that's my friend, that's my sis, that's my bro, you know what I mean? And you feel more connected to them. So, yeah.
And I think it's nice too, because you can, it almost feels like what it would be like having dinner with the person, which you don't really get in the traditional talk shows. Yeah. It's like they're still performing, but to hear a podcast, I'm like, oh, that's what it'd be like to have dinner with Tony or with Leo DiCaprio or who, like, you know what I mean? If
I'm glad you put that out there, like that caliber of guest.
Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio. Hello, Leo. Welcome to Lounging with Tony.
Yeah, Leo DiCaprio in the house.
I feel like podcasting too is such a different energy than if we were on a literal set with an audience.
Live audience will change it.
Yeah.
Because you need to
entertain them.
Yeah.
But it's also, I feel like people are very presentational because they have to present themselves in a certain way. Because sometimes America can be unforgiving. If there's something that they don't like about you, then they're like, I'm not watching anything that you ever do. You know what I mean? Yeah. So with like podcasts and and things like that, they can kind of just be themselves. So I feel like people really get to know who that person is, and
explain a little deeper into some of the thoughts they may have. Like you said, it is a touchy time. So if you're trying to get a point across in 15 seconds, it might be taken out of context. But if you can have an open discussion for 8 minutes and someone actually listens to the whole 8 minutes, then they can make a critique or an opinion. I feel, well, at least I shared my thoughtful point. Yeah. Not just a quick little like blah blah blah, and then people are like either with you or against you. Like I love that you can like talk it out. Yeah. Would you ever? That's what we're trying to like come up with too. Is like, would you touch something like politics on your show? Ooh, no. Or is it just too dangerous?
Well, he goes, ooh, no. Well, only because in my regular everyday life, I pay attention to politics, but I'm not a very political person. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not. I always described it as I live in my rose-colored house, and everything is great and wonderful, and we all get along, and things are fine. It's only when I peep out and I really see like what's happening, just so I'm aware of what's happening. It's like, all right, I got that, I noted, but I just want to be. Everyone's always talking about being the change and being the, and growing, and I just want to be someone. Even though I'm just a speck, I want to be someone that is very open to other people, that, listens to other people's opinions, accepts people, respects people, love people for who they are. So that's like my contribution.
Leading by example rather than talking about what other people should do. Just do your part, lead by example, be kind.
Exactly. Yeah. So and I think just in my household, we were never very political. We were always aware. Yeah. But we didn't have discussions about, laws and presidents and things like that, but we were aware of what was going on. I still remember the first time I voted. I went with my mom, but I remember taken the newspaper and they had all the candidates like laid out and what they were for, what they were against, and everything like that. And I remember just sitting there and just reading it and just kind of taking it all in before I went and placed my vote.
That's awesome.
So I'm that type of person. I don't like voting.
I know. I'm like, I don't. He's always all about it and talking about it, which is great. And you educate me a lot. We really always pay attention to what's going on, read, learn the headline, everything. You really dive in.
I think it's good to know so that if you do if you are in a discussion and you give an opinion, that you have facts from both sides to be able to have the discussion. So I think a lot of people get caught where they're just like, they've read something and then they say it, but then they don't know the backstory or what's going on the other side. So it's like you're getting yourself in a mess. I don't want to talk about it, to be honest, but if it ever got brought up, I was like, I want to be informed, and I'm informed for myself. But it's almost like you're not going to win.
No, well,
unless you're an actual left or right show or something like that, then you're going to find that audience. But if you're in a show like what we're all doing here, it's better not to divide people and just leave it out, so that people can come here and enjoy, because they're watching the news, they're seeing tweets, they're seeing Facebook. Let this be a place where people don't have to come and hear about
this stuff,
the same stuff.
And I that's another way that I want to contribute with all of the projects that I have, is just a brief moment of release from all the things that are happening. Because when you scroll through Facebook or Instagram or any social media, that's all you see is like, what's happening in this world, the mass shootings and police brutality and our president, and sometimes you just want a brief moment just to laugh or just to like feel good. Because I feel like right now, most people, depending on which side of the spectrum you're on, we just don't feel good about what's happening in our world right now. And a lot of people want to change, but then you have people that are like, everything is fine. So then there's this battle that keeps happening. And it's just like, I just want to give someone a moment just to laugh and just enjoy life for a second, and not have your life struggles on top of the world struggles just kind of bog you down to where you're just sitting on your couch going through Netflix all day just to not be bothered, So,
That's super smart. Leave people motivated afterwards. To go, you know what? I feel good.
Yeah.
I got some cool nuggets, and like, I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go start a podcast, or I'm going to go,
I'm just going to go do
value
something.
To the world,
Yeah. And I think that's just what we need now, because there's just so... Because sometimes I just look at stuff and I'm like, why? I don't understand why, like, someone thought that, or why someone did this, or why in 2019 are we not in a place of just coming together and loving, respecting, and accepting one another? Like, whatever you guys do here, as long as it doesn't cause harm to me or you guys, should be fine, And I feel like we're all trying to dive into everyone else's home, but like at the end of the day, we only have one life, and we just want to be happy, with it. We want to leave our mark and know that we lived a very fulfilled life, with whatever, because yes, we struggle through life, but struggles lead to life lessons that help you grow as a person. But at the end of the day, you just want to be happy. That's it.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Less stress, no anxiety.
Yeah.
Good people around you.
Yeah.
Feel a sense of security.
Feel safe.
Yeah.
And I just feel like right now we're all kind of walking on eggshells, because, when you meet someone, you don't know what they think, how they are, what they're going to do,
Do you feel that out in Los Angeles? Or do you feel like this is like kind of a place that it's very progressive and people are open? Like, the negativity and the noise online, do you see that in real life, or does it seem like it's only happening online?
It's questionable. I think you just kind of go through life, and sometimes you think, what is this person thinking? What is this person going to do?
Yeah.
Should I walk on the other side of the street? You know what I mean? Like, or if I go out, is this going to happen? There's this slight fear now that I think because of everything that happens. And I think it's anywhere. It can be here. It can be in, some small town in Iowa. Sorry, I always use Iowa as an example of stuff. Sorry to anyone that lives in Iowa.
I use Ohio because I'm from there.
Oh, see.
Indiana. It's all the same.
I guess I
Midwest.
should use South Carolina. But Iowa is shorter. But, you know, I think there's always just this bit of fear of living our day-to-day life and seeing what's happening. You know, will that happen to us? You know?
Yeah.
So I think no matter where you live, it's still that fear.
There's a little looming
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always looking over my shoulder. Mm-hmm. Like, even when I go to, like, the movie theater, I look at where the exit's at. Like, crazy stuff you would never think.
You never did before.
Yeah.
But because of all the things that are happening, you are more aware.
Yeah.
My mom always tells me, watch your surroundings. You know, every conversation we have, she always says, watch your surroundings. And it's like I do. Like, I notice where I am. I notice who's on the street. I know, you know, you just notice those things now.
It's funny how our parents, my dad always says, never sit in a restaurant with your back to the door.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or at a bar or anything. Always be facing the door so you can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's crazy, though, if you're out and you see everyone is like this. Like, I'm always so careful not to be in my phone because I don't trust what's going on.
Right. You also want to be engaged in, it's like, especially if you're out to dinner with friends or something. I feel like when a conversation kind of, you know, it has that dip, everyone goes,
huh.
And it's like, no, like we both took the time to get dressed and drive down and engage in each other like face to face. There should be no reason why our phones are out unless it's an emergency. Like, you know, like I'm expecting a call or maybe like a text message came through that you might need to take care of really quick. Like certain things are okay, but you walk into a room now and everyone's just on their phones.
Do you notice that bleeds into dating in LA? Like, because we met before really that was like a thing.
Yeah.
Are you seeing someone?
No.
No.
Are you on any dating apps?
I'm on all of them.
I thought I was going to say no. He goes, I'm on all of them.
I'm on all of them. Well, dating for me is different because, you know, as a gay male, I have to deal with men. Mm. Exactly. Which is a whole...
I feel you.
Yeah. That's like a whole nother conversation in itself. What was the question? Dating.
Yeah, I was just curious if with technology, if that kind of bleeds into if you're on a date, like, do you go on your phone? Is that a thing?
If you are on a date and you go on your phone, the date's not going well.
Right.
You know, that's a really good indication. But I feel like with dating, because you guys met before, like the apps and all this kind of stuff, I feel like now it takes out meeting someone and connecting with them and getting to know them. So kind of like, you know, seeing you across the bar and going, I like to go talk to that person. And talking to them, engaging them, and then thinking like, oh, this person is really interesting. I'd love to go out with them and just maybe in a more intimate setting. Now what people do is, you know, they sit at home in their pajamas and they kind of scroll through and they look for their type. So it's like, oh, no. And it's like, you can't really judge someone just by a photo.
Yeah.
Attraction can come from many different ways, you know, besides the physical. Sometimes the people I've been attracted to are all across the spectrum. And I've been attracted to them for different reasons. So sometimes their personality, you know, you're engaged in that and you're like, oh, wow, like this person is really interesting. And that makes them more attractive.
Yeah.
Or you can see the most attractive person in the room and then realize they can't keep a conversation. And you're like, all right, well, that's a bummer. You know what I mean? So like that initial interaction is not there anymore because we're now just judging people off of photos. And we're also looking for, again, our type. So if you dream of being with a Channing Tatum, you know, you can just flip through and, oh, he's close enough. Oh, you know, and then want to meet that person.
What's it like sitting down with someone that you texted with and met on an app and then you sit down?
And also, have you FaceTime them before you meet?
No? But sometimes it doesn't get to that point. Sometimes you text, and then it just falls off. And there's never
right?
a meetup. Yeah.
Ooh. Speaking
of ghosting, did you guys hear about the MTV show called Ghosted?
Yeah, we watched a little bit of it.
I think we watched the first ep. It was late, so I don't really remember consuming a lot of it, but...
I'm in love with that show.
They did. The girl, they were sitting across from her on bar stools.
Yeah.
That was the first step we did watch that.
And he went to do stand-up comedy, and he was
You did stand-up?
No,
the guy in the first episode.
I was like, what? I was like, what? I was like, Freddie Smith, stand-up?
He needs to. That's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic, yeah. But that's on my bucket list.
Yes, you should.
Ghosting someone. No. Stand-up.
Please don't. No, but the guy in the show was a stand-up comedian, and he went and did stand-up, and he was talking all this trash on the girl, and that's why she ghosted him.
I saw that episode too, and I was like, really, girl? Like that's a conversation that you just have, because as a comic, and I kind of use comedy, and when I host, you kind of gather stuff that you see or that you know, and you just riff on that. That's a conversation where you're like, listen, don't include me in your act. And he could have been like, all right, I'm sorry, and just left it at that. Like,
it's that, she'd have to ghost him.
So were there deeper issues, and that was her excuse, cover up?
You know how I felt about this subject, and how dare you bring it up to the world? Well, first of all, no one knows it's you, except you. But you could have just had a conversation with him. People don't realize that communication is key. Like, if you just have a simple conversation, it will solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But isn't it kind of frightening to think that this generation that ghosts people and can't communicate, and they just think it's easier to be like, oh yeah, let me just ghost them.
Yeah.
That eventually that's like our future and leaders of tomorrow, people who can't communicate. I mean, isn't that
you also can't, but it's also, you can't judge on future leaders if they're 22. Like, we were 22 acting different than we do now with people.
Yeah, but still always I feel like deeply who I was.
Yeah. I've always been kind. Yeah. My biggest thing is I was always kind, but now I'm intentional about it. Like, if someone would talk to me, I would be kind and listen and ask questions because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Now, as a 31-year-old, I'm asking questions because I actually want to know. I'm genuinely interested in being like, what does Tony know that I can learn? Or this person's a parent with 3 kids. What's that like?
Yeah.
Not just to ask, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm more intentional about being kind and actually caring about people, where before I was just a young, selfish kid who was nice, polite, but I deep down probably didn't give a shit.
Yeah. I think as I've gotten older, my facial expressions say everything, which...
Give us your best.
I don't know. It depends on the situation.
It's got to come organically.
Yeah. Like, my friends have always said something will happen and they can look at my face and know what I'm thinking, what I'm saying instantly. I also think I've become a little more blunt in my thoughts more than usual, which comes across as bitchy to some people. I know some people who, when they first meet me, they're like, oh, I thought you were such a bitch. And I'm like... Well, I wasn't bitchy. I'm just witty. But if that's considered a bitch, then fine. But I'm also very guarded when I first meet people, because I don't know if you're going to be around next week or not. So I don't want to feel like I'm giving my all to you when we first meet, and then you're not around 2 weeks later.
That makes sense.
Super fair. Yeah.
Because I'm at an age where, and my friend James Lott Jr., we were talking about this. When you get older, you just want to surround yourself with really good people. Like, you just don't have time for fake and phony people in your life. Like, you just want to surround yourself with good people. Yeah. So, when I meet people, it's like I'm nice, I'm cordial, I'm witty / bitchy. And it's like, and if you want to actually make something work, then like, let's both work towards it. If not, then I just don't have time.
I think it's because life is actually, when you're 19, life isn't very stressful, so you can deal with the stress of wishy-washy relationships. As you get older, you're like, listen, life in general, paying the bills, your future, just life. We're getting older. You're like, last year there were 3 people in my family who passed. Like, it's like life becomes more stressful, and I can't allow any stress, anxiety, or weird friendships in, because there's just no room. Life in general has its challenges. I need the people to make me feel good. Yes. And I think that's where it comes from. Yeah. Before, we used to tolerate so much stuff because what would you really have going on at 19? How are you going to get into the club?
Like, I always knew how I would get into the club. I walk in and be like, "Hey, it's me. No cover. Yep. Excuse me." Just walking by everyone. "Hey, see you inside. Oh, that's my jam."
It's the strut. See, you walk right in. People are like, "You must own the place."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a journey in itself. Starting to go out to the clubs and stuff.
Do you promote or do anything at clubs, or is it more like bar? Is it like clubs?
Yeah. So the club I promote at is Mickey's in West Hollywood.
So fun.
Oh my God, I've worked there for a number of years. That's actually how I got into hosting.
Really?
I used to go out on their Tuesday nights and dance and twirl and have a good time. And the promoter there was like, "I want you to come host here." And I was like, "Oh, if you want me to host, you're gonna have to pay me." And I literally like walked away. And he caught up with me later. And he was like, No, I'm serious. And he handed me his card. And I thought about it because at the time I had a full-time job. I was a casting assistant at Central Casting. And so I was like, well, this could be like some nice extra money. It's at night, sure. And then I started. And then 6 months after I started there, I started announcing the drag queens during the drag show. Just like, "Hey, everybody, welcome to the stage, Sparkle Stone," which is an actual drag queen's name. And then a year after that, I started hosting and producing that same drag show. So it's like all of a sudden this new career path just kind of started. And that's when I started Lounging with Tony, because I wanted something to hone in on the hosting side that I was just starting to explore. So I was like, what do I like? What do I enjoy? I was like, I enjoy pop culture, entertainment, and meeting people and talking to people. So I just kind of merged that together into a show.
When you moved here, was it more for acting, and then now this hosting thing kind of just picked up, and now you're crushing and rocking? That's so cool.
Yeah, I moved out for acting, and then hosting just popped up out of nowhere.
You're great at it, though.
Thank you.
Don't you feel good though? Like I remember I was a little panicked at first. Like I was like, it was acting or nothing. Mm-hmm. But now that there's these other mediums, I'm kind of getting my creative fulfillment. Like, do you feel creatively fulfilled? Like wouldn't you rather be hosting or emceeing and like promoting than like serving?
Well, I know me, and I knew that being a server was not. Like I was not going to be a good server. I remember, and one of my agents back in South Carolina said, well, if you're going to move to LA, you better prepare to be a server. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to be me. Because I know me, I'll forget. And I'll be like, well, what did you ask for? Okay. And like I wouldn't be, sometimes I'm a bad customer, so I know I'd be a terrible waiter. But when I moved here, that's why I got the job at Central, because I was like, I need something stable, but I wanted something in the industry that I would enjoy. Right. So I went there so that I didn't have to go into serving. But you hand me a microphone, and it's like the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. Just the joy of seeing people having fun and laughing, and just for a moment, just engaging with you. I don't know. It's so easy. Like it's second nature to me right now.
And it's just improvising.
Yeah. And it makes you think on your feet really quick, and how to see something and just go for it, and it just maybe joke after joke or interaction, and and people are laughing and have a good time, and then how to read the room to just stop, and move on to something else. Because sometimes some people don't know how to do that. Like they'll go on and on and on and on. You're like, okay, you can move on to something else.
I'm like, read the room.
Yeah,
read the room. Keep it moving.
And that's such a talent in itself, to be able to walk out and know how to interact with people. Because, for example, hosting in a club is very different than hosting at a soap event. So I had to make sure whichever event I was at, there was a certain Tony that came out.
Yep.
In the club, it's very extra and very like and there's a few bitches and and all this kind of stuff that comes out. At a soap event, it's still me, but it's like kind of like not I don't want to say subdued, Tony. But like
different shade of you.
Yes, it's still the extraness, but giving enough so that it's not too much where people are like, ooh, he's a lot, but it's enough where he's like, oh my God, they're so fun. It's that.
It's knowing the crowd, I guess, right? Just
Yes.
knowing the environment. And
yeah.
And do you think, like, by hosting, though, and improvising and being, like, quick on your feet, that bleeds into your acting? Doesn't it make you a better actor because you listen, you understand engagement, which is basically acting in general? And
you know yourself. I actually just today's Monday. I just finished a 4-week class with Mark Teschner, the casting director at General Hospital. Yeah. And night one, I thought to myself, maybe acting isn't my thing. But then...
In what regard? What do you mean?
There's a lot that goes into acting, I feel like. When you get the sides, you have to know and understand this character. Sometimes you have to be very vulnerable, which I'm a vulnerable person as far as like crying and showing emotion. Tony is that in private, but then when you have to show that in a scene, it's kind of like, I feel like then I'm acting, because I'm like the emotion is there, but if they want to tear, it's like, I don't do that. Like, it's hard for me to cry in front of people. So there was a lot, but then I think as the weeks went on, Mark definitely pulled things out and kind of reassured me that, one, make a strong choice and go in with that choice and then be able to take adjustments.
Yeah.
So then I felt and have the confidence. And watching the other actors too, I was like, wow, these people are very talented. So I was able to pull from them as well. But at the end of week 4, I was like, okay, I can do this. It's more so about just understanding what you're seeing and not acting the role, not acting that, this will be a fun way to say this line. Well, if it's not how the character is supposed to be, then you're doing that wrong. So I learned a lot, which now I'm like, I really wish I could act more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my whole experience though with Days is like, if you were doing that, like those 4 classes every day for like 8 years, like I think because it happened so slowly for me, but I look back at my first episodes on Days and you can actually see the progression of me.
Yeah.
But because of how much practice it is, I think just acting and your emotions is a skill that you have to practice a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize by doing so many scenes for so long, because you're just in it day by day. You don't feel the thing till you look back at it.
Yeah.
But I think, with acting, it's like, we can all cry. We all feel all the emotions. But to have control of them just takes time.
Yeah.
And I look back, I'm like, oh my God. Some of my first auditions that I recorded, it's like, what was I? You just, for some reason, it doesn't click. But like you said, by the end of that 4 weeks, it clicked for you.
Clicks.
And you're like,
But you also had no experience, too. And now you're seasoned. Oh, there's the dog snoring.
No, I get it, but it's a fun puzzle to put together.
Yeah, and it's settling into a character as well. I mean, now that you've been playing Sonny for so long, like how he is, you
get it, yeah,
and that's how I always felt after doing a scene. It was like, I get this character, I understand this character, and you take traits of you and what that character is supposed to be and just mesh it. There was one week where another guy in the class and we both had the same scene, and he went first. And he did it a completely different way than I did. But both worked, because he took traits of him when he did his scene and understood the character and made that work. I took what I saw the character was and also just me and like made that work. And it was fun. It was fun just to kind of, step into that and go, I know who this character is. I understand it. I understand him. I understand gestures and how he would react in this moment. Let's go, and you also kind of let it happen organically. That was another thing I took from this class too, is that when you make a choice, you then know how to react. So like when you have the script and you're saying the lines, instead of thinking like, I'm going to say it this way. Well, when you say your line to me, then it's like I know how to respond based on the energy and what you're giving me, which is completely different than like being in your head like, well, I can't wait for you to say your line because I'm going to say it like this and it's going to kill him. And it's like, no, you have to stay true to
a reaction.
Yeah,
that's the disconnect in some actors is they have it planned and you're like, you don't know what the other actor's going to do. What if you think they're going to yell but they laugh, but then you have your line planned that doesn't go with what you're saying? So I think that was the biggest turning point for me is listening to what they're actually saying and then reacting to it, but never losing what my intention of the scene is.
Right.
So yes, if you're pissing me off, but I need something from you, your line might piss me off but I can't yell because I need something from you.
Yeah.
But as long as I know my intention of what I'm trying to get from you or what I'm trying to make you feel and I listen, those two things really helped me just kind of live in the scene a little so that all my notes and homework could kind of just be off to the side, but as long as I kept just really listen and don't lose your goal. Has been it really like helped me. You're right, making that solid choice of who that person is and what they want is key. Because we all do that in real life.
We do.
Every conversation we have, we're like, I want this person to like me, or I want to make this person feel guilty because they pissed me off, or whatever you're trying to make someone feel. That's life. We just don't do our homework on it. You just naturally know how you feel.
Naturally do it.
And you naturally do it.
So then if you were to think about like 5 years from now, what is your perfect dream life that you wake up to? Like the dream job, the dream, all of it. Where would you like to see yourself?
Channing Tatum, the dream man.
One can only hope.
He'll be swiping today looking for Channings.
Right. We're like, oh, that's him. Actually, look, in this day and age, look, as long as we match, like, let's make something happen. I would love to have my own talk show. I remember I took a tour on the Paramount lot. A friend of mine who used to work at Paramount, he gave what was called the Nickel Tour, and we would hop on a golf cart and he would take us to all the different sets and everything like that. And I was on the Dr. Phil set, and I looked up and I looked around and I was like, I really want to wake up and be able to go to a studio and it's the Tony Moore Show and just have a blast with people. And I
love that.
And of course, at some point, have a role on Days of Our Lives.
That's your thing, right? You love Days.
I do.
What's been that process, though? Because you're so in with all the people. Like, what's the... Like, have you had that talk with Marnie, or what's... Or is it kind of just...
I met Marnie for the first time. I took a workshop with her, and I didn't do so well. At least I didn't think so. Before Marnie, I took a workshop with Bob Lambert, who thought I did great. And I told him my whole mission of coming here was to show what I can do in hopes that I'll get an opportunity to come in and read. So it hasn't happened yet. But I saw Marnie again during the Emmys, the daytime Emmys this past year. And we had, talks and conversation. Of course, I kind of slid in, like, if you ever need a tall African-American male, you let me know.
Right.
But I don't know how to approach things because I always approach things from a very genuine level. So, like, if I sent, if I did some sort of, and I call them gimmicks, like if I sent a postcard every day with, like, or like my headshot in, like, a, some sort of unique way, like, I feel like that's not me. If I send an email that's like, hey, if anything ever comes across, here's my info, like, that's more me. But I feel like in this day and age, you have to have some sort of gimmick or some sort of way to really get their attention. So I don't
know though. I think being yourself is what is important because if you're gonna keep mingling, networking, and meeting people that can help you get in the door there, I think that's your first step. And if God forbid it never happened, but you have a talk show in 6 years, then you get to bring on actors and do like your own scene on your show of like it can always come in, it can always turn into something. But the gimmicks, I feel you only hear those stories because they're like cool, but it only works for certain people. It's like the people who get famous on Instagram by like jumping from building to building or doing backflips. Like I can't do that. You know what I mean? But like that. So I just think being yourself is what's going to get you in the door.
I hope so. I actually had a dream a couple of months ago that I was bawling my eyes out because I got a role on Days. and the character's name was Terrence. And before then, I'd always said Maxine's son, but I never had a name for my character at all. So in the dream, the character's name was Terrence. So I was like, oh, now we got a name. Maybe we're going somewhere. But even if it's not like a contract role, even if it's just an under 5, even if I come in and just say stop, like I feel like that's an accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna happen though. That's where I kind of worry a little bit, because I've had this dream for so long, and it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna happen now. I thought at one point it would, but I'm not sure now.
Because you're in the ecosystem.
Yeah. And I have been for a while. I mean, I used to go to those fan events starting when I was 16. And so, you know, I've known a lot of the actors for a while. I've never expected them to pass on info to anyone. Never really asked. There have been a couple people that's like, well, give me your info and I'll send it over. And nothing ever came from that. But the fact that they offered was great.
Yeah.
But then there's also that pressure, like if I did get called in and I sucked, that's not good. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine like someone recommending you and then you go in and it's like, and then Marnie comes to them and be like, yeah, that person sucked. Like, why would
put on your Beyonce?
I was just gonna say that.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Head up, strutting those double doors.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day that Days builds the gays and like a few more people get added, and then I can come strutting in. Because listen, I have my whole storyline planned out in my head on how.
And now you have a name. That's the button.
Yeah, and that. So like, I'm ready when they are.
Listen, writers, Terrence.
You know what's interesting though? That's why I just want to keep. I just really, and I feel good about it. I can feel the energy at Days that I really do think we're going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
I just think people are just being really thoughtful, and I think because All My Children and One Life to Live, I think those networks tried to get rid and replace, and it didn't really work. I think the whole community was like, ooh, yeah, that's not a good idea. Yeah. Let's keep this going. So, you know, I really hope that Days is around a while. People are obsessed. And, and I really do think we could make it to at least 60 years. That's
Where are you at now?
Dope.
It's like, what,
54?
50? Is it 55?
55?
Let me do some math.
63 is actually when I think they started.
2015 was the 50th.
2015?
2015, we celebrated the 50th. So this November is going to be celebrating 54.
54.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Come on, 6 more years, Days.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think it can happen. Wow, that would be amazing. That'd be really good.
And you know, another cool thing too about, did you see, what's her name? Lily Tsai? Is that her name? She was a big YouTuber. Now she has her own late night show.
Yeah.
So that's like the cool thing too. It's like getting really popular with Lounging with Tony and More Please, building a huge audience. Same thing with us. Like, we'd be interested in that as well.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but instead of us having to like knock on doors, it's like, let us just produce these, put them out, and if we can build 100,000 views per episode eventually, maybe that's enough for. So when we do knock on the door, we go, look, we get 100,000 from our guest room.
Yeah.
Give us a team, put us on the stage with the couch.
Yeah. And let's do it.
Let's do it. Like, we'll bring some audience over. You'll already have an audience who's watched the episode before, or the program before, that will carry over and give us a shot with it. So I think we can prove ourselves that we can make it happen in the next 2 to 5 years by just producing episodes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we are in the entertainment world, is that everyone's producing their own content and building their own audience. So that way, when they go to Netflix or Hulu or NBC or CBS and go, look what I got, they go, oh, okay, you already have you've
it's like
done
a proof of concept.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of the work for them. So now it's just kind of like your audience is just going to carry over. But I think, and again, my friend James and I were talking about this. It starts with support. You have to have support in what you do, you know, from people. And it's weird because sometimes the people that you know don't support what you do, but it's people who don't know you that will support you. But I say if you believe in someone and you see that they're doing something, you don't have to give money, but sometimes that 2 seconds to share that web show, that podcast, to show someone else in your network of people, hey, this is my friend, support them, or taking a second to comment or, do 5 stars on iTunes or whatever. That's a way that you can show support that doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or anything, but it shows that you support them and you're trying to get it out as much as possible. So
that can mean more than anything.
Oh, it always means the world to me when I post something and someone shares it. It may be only 1 or 2 people, but I appreciate it because that means that you took the time to promote what it is that I'm doing, and you also took the time to look at what I'm doing and truly support it. And I have people who support me and who remind me every day that, one day it's going to happen. My mom tells me the same thing. She's like, your day is coming. And I'm like, I really wish someone would tell me what day that is so I can put it in the calendar and I can wake up and go, today's the day. Everything is about to happen. But it's nice to have that support system, and especially in our industry, because sometimes you have those days where you're like, I don't know what to do. I've done everything. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I am just going to give up. I'm just going to go down the street, get a 9 to 5 and just like live my life, And sometimes you need those people to say, no, you're doing something. Do it. Keep doing it,
And but you know deep down that you can't go get a 9 to 5. You will not be fulfilled. That state keeps me on track.
Yeah, I had that. And at my 9 to 5, I was working on Lounging with Tony and my other projects, because I just couldn't I'm too creative to be locked down to a desk. And
I was just gonna say that
the office politics and and the rules, and this rule is different from that's just not, even though in the entertainment industry it's even worse, but that's just not my world. That's not where I'm fulfilled. It's clocking in and waking up every day at 7:45 and showering and brushing your teeth and ironing your outfit and then getting in the car and going to traffic and then clocking it, like it's
When you're creative too, I feel like it's creative or bust. You'll never be happy or fulfilled doing those other types of jobs.
Especially circumstances though. Like we have the luxury. Like some people have to provide for their family. They got 3 kids. They have, what I mean? Like we're fortunate right now that we can kind of be selfish and try things because we're not risking our kids' school or our kids' shelter. Like we could live under a tent and be fine.
Yeah.
If you have 3 kids, so I think some people are in situations where they're providing, but that's why I realized that, and I'm like, we got to go for it now.
Yeah.
It's the best time to be doing a podcast, all this social media stuff. And then we were talking with somebody else who has a podcast, and they're like, I just feel like everyone has one. I'm like, everyone does in the world of podcasting. There's 7 billion people. I bet you, there are billions that have no idea about podcasting yet. No one's doing YouTube. No one's doing podcasting. It's all new, and it's going to be something in 10 years, and I think we are ahead of it, and we're getting our grassroots before.
We also live in LA, though, and everyone's doing something.
Everybody has a web show. Everybody has a film. Everybody got a script. Everybody got a podcast. Everybody got a dog. Everybody has the same thing.
But the talent and the consistency will rise to the top.
Yeah.
So many people are going to try it and do it for a little while, but they won't be consistent. They didn't lay the groundwork. And that's fine. They'll find their other thing. There's things we've tried and it drops off. Like it wasn't our path. Yeah. But I'm feeling Benji snoring again. But I'm feeling really good, man. And I don't. And to wrap it up too, I know we've been talking for a long. We're an hour and 10 minutes.
So easy to chat with, baby.
I love talking.
Yeah, I don't want to keep him hostage here for hours. But
someone send help.
Yeah, he's like testing SOS.
Channing Tatum, come save him.
Somebody come save me, please.
I'll only release him to Channing Tatum.
Please.
But the thing to kind of wrap it all up, though, I really love that we've been able to get to know each other and chat, and we want to be here to support you, and you've been super supportive of us. And I do think there's a lot of people in our lives that do support us, but maybe don't understand the world we live in.
Yeah.
That they're just like, because I feel there's people in my life, maybe even family or friends, who aren't in the world of social or entertainment. That's kind of like, oh, they're good. They got their podcast duties on a show. Like on the outside world, sometimes they're like, what's a like gonna? They got tons of. But when you're in it, I think you end up meeting other people that understand what it's like, and let us know when you have more please, and you get Lounging with Tony, if you want to come back on and share it with our audience to let them know, and we'll support it and
I'll have to have you guys on.
Yes, would love to.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Of course.
You're a great interviewer. We love just chatting with you.
Well, this was interesting to be on this side because normally I'm the one asking all the questions. I feel like I was like under. No, I'm just kidding.
It's actually easier to be the host. Because you can just ask a question and kind of sit back.
Yeah,
and then you're doing all the work.
Yeah. Now I'm sitting here like, ooh, what did I say? What happened today? I did want to say two things. One, when you were talking about people not understanding how our world is, my mom always says, well, why don't you just call Tyler Perry? And I'm like, Mom, it doesn't. She was like, did you go to his website? There's an email. You can just email him. And I go, Mom, it doesn't quite work out like that. Okay.
He might not get it.
Yeah, but I love that, sometimes in the conversation always starts with, I was thinking, you do so much stuff and I know that you're really trying. Steve Harvey helps people. Why don't you, talk to Steve Harvey? My mom, I think, feels like I can just, go and just, talk to these people. And I'm like, hey, Steve, got a show for me? But I love that because it's almost that way of, encouraging me to, just get out there and just, try and put something out there. I remember also when I first moved to LA and then I came back and hosted a soap event. One of the attendees went up to Sean Christian, who was playing Daniel Jonas at the time, and went, oh, you know Tony, don't you? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is that moment. And she's like, he works on the show too. He's on the show as well. And I could see Sean's face kind of trying to figure out who is this person? And I leaned into him. I was like, I just do background work. It's totally fine. I think for a second he thought is this a new character that I hadn't seen yet that's on the show? But to her, it was a big thing. He's on the show too. You know him. You know the cast. You're part of the cast too. And it's it's a little different between being a contract role or day player or co-star versus, someone who's walking around Hortontown Square shopping at Janet's boutique. It's a little different. A little different.
But so you actually have technically been on Days of Our Lives.
I have for many years. I did background work on the show, and I loved it. Yeah, it was always my favorite show and set to go to because everyone's super nice over there, and they remember you and they say hi and it's quick and easy. You're there for about 4 hours, a couple of items, and then you hit it. So I always had a great time. Yeah,
it's a good place.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Tony.
Yeah,
thank you
for coming
thank
over
you guys for
and hanging with us.
On social, by the way.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony.
Yeah.
Or my website, loungingwithtony.com.
I'm going to take a photo.
But I think it's still working.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
So perfect.
I always feel it's so awkward when someone's like, I'm going to take a photo, if we're at an event or something. Someone's like, I was like, well, take it with me. Yeah. Someone's like, here. And they just take it. I'm like, come with me. Let's take a selfie. But no, that's a great picture of you. I'll tag you in this.
Yay.
But yeah, we'll let you know. But if we can edit this quickly, we'll have it up tomorrow and we'll let you know and all that good stuff.
Yeah, just let me know. I can throw it up on our Dishin Days Insta.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. We'll get a little story clip.